Welcome to my channel and thanks for joining me. Today we're taking a look at the Cricut Infusible ink pens. I'm going to use the ink pens to write with the Cricut, and I'm going to use the ink pens to color a little bit, and then we're going to apply that image to a Cricut coaster. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and without further ado, let's get started. What I thought I would do is try to put my logo on a Cricut Cork coaster. Now these are the square ones. They are 3 3/4 inch square and they have a cork bottom. They also have ceramic coaster blanks that are the round ones. And the directions for these are going to be different than the directions for these. So know that if you have this coaster and you're watching this tutorial, you need to check your directions, and I will link the directions in the description below the video. But you need to check the Cricut website to make sure that you adjust your directions according to the ceramic coasters. So we're going to be doing, again, the cork coaster. So these come in a set of 4 coaster blanks. You're going to need to have the heat transfer tape. So I'm using that. That's going to come in this. I had to go ahead and open this so that we would be all ready for the video. And then we're going to use the markers to draw the logo and then color it in. I'm also using some laser copy paper. Now I had a lot of questions about that after the first video. Cricut recommends, they said for the best, most vibrant transfer to use laser copy paper. And I just picked up a ream of copy paper at my local office supply store. It looks just like copy paper, but it's made particularly for laser printers. So it was just this is a 24-pound paper. I don't think the weight really matters. But for whatever reason, the chemistry behind it, this seems to transfer the image the best. You can use regular copy paper. You don't have to have the laser, but they recommend the laser for the very best, most vibrant transfer. So that's what I'm using. And then we're also going to use our Cricut EasyPress. You can use the EasyPress 2 or the EasyPress 1. If you're using the EasyPress 1, again, your time and temperatures might be slightly different. You'll have to check the interactive guide, and I will show you that as we get to it. So the one thing to know about the markers is that they come in these 2 different color family sets. We have this set of sort of bright colors and the set of the primary colors, but they also come in the 0.4 pen widths and the 1.0. So the 1.0 is going to be thicker and the 4s are going to be a little bit thinner lines. So I'm going to use a 4 to draw it, and then I'm going to use the 1.0 to color in the pink areas and the black areas. So let's go ahead and get started. I've already set up my file in Cricut Design Space. Okay, so I've already set up my design. This is my logo, and it's just a hand-drawn drawing, and it is a PNG file. So once you import that into Cricut Design Space, it's going to give you the outlines, not a solid colored image. So that works perfectly fine with what we're trying to do. By the way, I want to mention, if you go to Images in Cricut Design Space and you type in coaster up here in the search bar, Cricut has already set up a plethora of beautiful coaster designs that you can use to create coasters with their new blanks. So these are already pre-made, pre-set up for you. But if I wanted to recreate the one that I'm using, which is my hand-drawn logo, I just want you to see exactly what it looks like in case you want to do something similar. So what I'm going to do is type in, actually I'm going to click filters, and I'm going to look for uploaded images. And I'm going to search here in my uploaded images, and here is my logo. So I'm going to use this one. I'm going to click insert. So this is exactly how I started with this image. Let me zoom this out a little bit so I can get this to a manageable size. There we go. Zoom back in. So I started with my image. Now the coasters are 3.75 by 3.75. So the first thing that I did was go into shapes and grab a square, and that's going to represent my coaster. And my coaster is 3.75, but I'm going to cut around the edge, and I want to make sure that my template is slightly bigger, so I'm going to make it 3.85. So it's just slightly bigger than what my coaster is going to be. And I'm just going to change this to white by clicking up here and change it to white. And then I'm going to right click and click send to back. All right, so now we've got the coaster and we have the, here I'm going to turn this one off so that it's not so confusing. So we have the coaster and we have my logo. So I kind of put this off to the side, but you can see my logo is made up of 3 different layers. And what I'm going to do is use the marker to color in the lips. So I'm going to turn that layer off, and I'm going to use the marker to color in the shirt stripes. So I'm going to turn that layer off. So this is what my logo looks like when I import it. It shows cut, but we're not going to cut it, we're going to draw it. So watch what happens when we go over here to the line type window and we change this from cut to draw. Now all Design Space is seeing is the lines outside of my drawing. So let me show you again. When it was going to cut, it looked like this, but I am changing it to draw. And so it's looking for lines to draw. That's why you don't get a filled font if you're not using a writing font, and we'll get to that in a second. But this is exactly what I want. So I'm going to have the Cricut draw this image on here, and then I'm going to color it in. I need to tell the Cricut what color of pen I'm going to use so that it can prompt me when it's appropriate. So I'm going to click right here next to the draw, and I have a choice of a 0.4 millimeter pen, or we have a choice of the 1.0 marker pens. The Infusible ink pens come in a 0.4 and a 1.0. So I'm going to be drawing in the 0.4 with the maker. So I'm going to make sure I'm choose that. And I want it to draw this in the midnight color, which is going to be black. So we're all set there. Now I want to add some text. So what I would do is click on text and type my name. Well, actually, let's not put the maker in there because I'm going to do that in a different color. And because I was just in this, it's already coming up as a writing style. Normally, it would come up regular, so it would look like this. But we don't want to just change this to draw, because if we do, if we go up here to the line type menu and we change this to draw, it's going to do the same thing that it did to my logo. It's going to draw the outline. And I don't want it to do that. I want it to actually write. We change this back to regular. Oops, change the line type back to cut so that you guys will see exactly what you see when you try this. So it's going to look like this. And what I want to do is change the font. So I'm going to click on the font. And up here, I'm going to choose Cricut. And then I'm going to go over to Filter and choose Writing. And that's going to give me fonts that have a writing style that are Cricut fonts. And that means it's going to draw a single line font. So I am going to choose Cricut Sans, which is the basic one right here. And you can see now it is a single, oops, it's a single line font. So I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller. And this is going to be a little bit bigger than my mock-up, but I want to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. So there's that. And then I went over to text again and I added the word maker. And of course, since we just had that font chosen, it's going to give us that one again. So I'm going to do this, and it's a little bit too big still. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to move this out of the way just a second so that I can just grab those words, and I'm going to go up to align and align bottom, and that's just going to make sure everything's lined up. And I wanted to make the word maker part of my name. I want it to change that to a different colored pen. So I'm going to choose raspberry, and that's going to represent the pink marker. All right, so we've got that all set up. This is our coaster template, so let's see how we're looking on spacing. So I could do something like this. I think I'm going to make my logo a little bit smaller. All right, so it's set up to draw like this. Now I also, if I turn this one back on, you're going to see, oops, right here, you're going to see I put this line in. And a lot of people aren't aware that you can do this. So let me show you how I added those lines. All I did was go over to Shapes, select Score Line, and this is your score line. You're familiar with this, but did you know that you can go up to Line Type and change that to Draw? And that becomes a solid line that the Cricut will draw. You can also change it to Cut. If you just want to cut a line, you can change that score line to Cut, and it will cut a single line. So we're going to put it on Draw, and again, I want to make this the raspberry color, and that is how I created the outline around the coaster. So I'm not exactly sure how I had that set up, but I just made a score line and then I duplicated it, put one over here, and you can go through and align these a little bit better, but you get the idea. And then I made another one and I rotated it. If you hold your shift key when you rotate, it will snap into straight movements, straight degrees, like 45. You can make it longer, which is what I did. Make that one cross over, and so on. So that's how you create the lines. Once you have everything in place the way you want it and lined up the way you want it, what I did was select it all, and you can also click the button that says Select All right up top, and then I clicked Attach. But you don't want to do that until you have everything in place the way you want it. Once you have that, I'm going to click Attach. Once you have that set up just the way you want, you're going to click Make It, and then you're going to make sure you mirror your image. For this particular project, you want to make sure that you mirror your image. So then you're going to go ahead and connect it to your Cricut. You're going to choose copy paper for your coaster to cut and for it to be drawing on. And then we're going to let the Cricut do its thing. So we'll hop over to that part of the video. Okay, so we're going to load our mat. And it's telling me based on what I chose that I need to load my black 0.4 tip pen, and that is the fine point pens. Once you open these and they're out of the package, you can still easily tell which point they are. It's written on the side of the barrel here. The 0.4s are the fine tip, and also on the bottom, the fine tip have an F and the medium point have an M. And again, they're written on the side. The medium point is the 1.0s. So I'm using the fine point to draw with. So it's telling me I need to put the black one in. So I'm going to put that in. So I'm just going to open up the pen, clamp A, put my finger right on the bottom, push the pen in until I hear it click, and then close it, and we're ready to go. Okay, it stopped and is telling me to load the Midnight pen in. Just because this is a different layer, I'm still using the same pen, so I'm just going to leave that in there and go ahead and click the C. And now it's telling me that I need to change the pen to the raspberry one, which is the color I chose to represent the pink. So again, I have the fine point in, put my finger right on the bottom, insert till I hear a click, and close. Go ahead and click the C. And now you can see my logo all drawn and it's mirrored, and that's perfectly fine. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and color it in. I won't make you sit and watch all of this. I'll show you a little bit and then we'll just fast forward through it. But I'm going to use probably a combination of the fine point and the broad point pens to color in the areas that I want to color in. And I'm going to leave it on the mat. It may bleed through, so if you don't want your mat messed up, take it off of the mat, and you might want to put a piece of paper under it to protect your desktop. I don't really care if it gets on the mat. I'm about due for a new one. So I'm going to leave it on the mat while I color it, just to keep everything nice and easy. So I'll color this, and then we'll continue with the tutorial on how to apply this to the coaster. Okay, so we've got this all colored in, and I'm going to release it from the mat, and it's always best to pull the mat away from the paper, especially when you're dealing with thin paper. So keep it from curling the least. There we go. So we have our transfer, we have our tape, we have our EasyPress. We're going to move that over here. Okay, so we're going to refer to the EasyPress guide, which is telling us to put our temperature at 400 degrees, which I preheated this so that we wouldn't have a problem with that. And we're going to put it on 60 seconds. So we're going to hit the timer and 60 seconds. Now again, this is the EasyPress 2 directions. If you have the EasyPress 1, your directions are going to be different. So let me check that for you as soon as I get this set to 60 seconds. All right. So you can see here on the left, we have the guide for the Cricut EasyPress 1, or the original one. It's 360 degrees for 120 seconds. Yes, your EasyPress 1 goes up to 120 seconds. And for the EasyPress 2 users, you're going to be using 400 degrees for 60 seconds. So again, EasyPress 1, 360, 120 seconds. EasyPress 2, 400 degrees, 60 seconds. So the next thing you want to do is wipe away any lint from your coaster using a lint-free cloth. So I just have a glass towel here, and I'm just going to wipe this down. I'm going to make sure that nothing's going to interfere with that ink transfer. Okay, and then I'm going to place the coaster on my EasyPress mat, and I'm going to put my design face down on the coaster, and I want to try to center it as well as I can. I made it slightly bigger so that I had a little wiggle room. And this is where the tape's going to come in handy. Okay, this tape does come so it'll fit in a regular tape dispenser. I haven't purchased one yet, so I'm just going to cut a few pieces here to get it ready. And we're just going to tape our design to the coaster. Just want to make sure that it doesn't move during the application. So I've got it taped down. I'm going to take my butcher paper. Now I kept mentioning butcher paper in my previous video, and I had several people saying you mean parchment paper, and I don't mean parchment paper, I mean butcher paper. Your heat transfer sheets will come with butcher paper in them, and they don't have a source yet for more butcher paper, but if you need it, I bought a roll on Amazon. I'll link what I bought in the description below the video. But you're just going to put a piece beneath the coaster with the design facing up, and then you're going to take a piece of cardstock and you're going to cover the coaster. This is just a piece of plain white cardstock, doesn't matter what brand, just any old cardstock. You're going to put that face up, and then you're going to press it according to whether you're using EasyPress 1 or the EasyPress 2, according to your guide. In this case, it's 400 degrees for 60 seconds. So we are going to go ahead and put this right down on top of the coaster. You don't want to move it around. You want to put it down and hold it steady and press your timer. Again, try not to move anything, including the butcher paper. Now, I will warn you that when you're done with this, the coaster is going to be extremely hot. So you want to make sure that you let that completely cool before peeling it. This might not be something you want to do with the little ones because it does need to cool down. It's extremely, extremely hot. So we're just going to let this go ahead and count down. And we're just putting the butcher paper down to keep any ink or anything from getting on your EasyPress mat. All right, we're going to lift it up. And again, it's extremely hot. You can see my cardstock has changed color. You can see that there is some ink on my cardstock. I no longer want to use that cardstock for another infusible ink project. It's a mouthful. So you don't want to use that. The inks could transfer onto another project. So keep that in mind. And the same with your butcher paper. You can reuse the butcher paper as long as you don't get any ink on it. So, but you don't want to reuse it once you have ink that has transferred on it. So again, this is pretty hot. The ceramic ones get extremely hot. You really got to be careful with those. So we want to let this cool down. I'm going to take it off of the EasyPress mat, which is also warm, just to help it cool off a little bit faster. All right, and once it's cooled, you can go ahead and remove your tape from the coaster, remove your design. This is still pretty hot. So there you can see it is perfectly infused into the coaster. Now again, this is the Cork coaster, so if you're doing the ceramic one, your directions are going to be a little bit different. Make sure you refer to those directions on the Infusible Ink website, which I will have linked in the description below the video. But this is absolutely seamless. Now you don't want to use anything more than warm water or glass cleaner to clean this going forward. You don't want to use any steel wool or, colored cleaning agents. That could mess with the look of it. But other than that, this is permanent. It's going to stay on there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial using the pens and the new Infusible Ink coasters and pens by Cricut. I think these are going to be a lot of fun, and letting the Cricut do the drawing for you, and then you can color it in. Let the Cricut do the writing for you, or just freehand, absolutely freehand a design. My logo is a design that I have freehanded and drawn and changed into a PNG file, and I just uploaded that to Cricut Design Space, and again, it drew it for me, and then I just used the pens and colored it in, and I have my own personalized coasters. I hope you are as excited as I am about the new Infusible Ink markers by Cricut. I think they're a lot of fun. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed this video. Click that bell notification and you'll be notified every time there is a new video. Also, check out the links below the video. I have a link to the Cricut Infusible Ink website, which gives you all of the tips, tricks, and tutorials to using all of the Infusible Ink products, as well as a link to the Cricut EasyPress guide. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and never stop making. See you guys. Bye-bye.